In this video, I want to discuss something so critical. I want to discuss emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence and what does it look like? It is so important. I talk about this in my video, the 3 most important things that we have to own in life if we're going to live an incredible life. And one of them is emotional intelligence. And that's what I want to discuss in this video. If you like this video, please like it and please subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications for all future videos that I put on the channel. So what is emotional intelligence? Well, simply put, emotional intelligence is the way that we communicate with ourselves. It's the communication that we have with ourselves about what's happening in the outside world, the emotions that we feel in response to what happens. And because a lot of people don't know how to deal with those emotions, they don't know how to deal with their triggers, so they get stressed, they get anxious, they get angry, they get sad, they get overwhelmed, they get fearful, they get disappointed, whatever the emotion is, they get stuck. And what a lot of people tend to do is they don't know how to deal with those emotions, so they try and squash them. They try and squash them through unhealthy distractions. And that might be food. For me, it was food. Food was a major way for me to kind of squash that emotion, but it doesn't really help the issue. And I talk about that a lot in my emotional mastery course, which you can see the link below. But I just want to give an understanding in this video of what is emotional intelligence and a deep understanding of what our emotions are trying to do for us. And it's a real game changer when people understand how to see our emotions. It's part of the process of being emotionally intelligent, because if we can't deal with our emotions, then we're going to be enslaved to them. We're going to live in fear of them. It's going to be a constant bout of, oh, I'm feeling anxious. We don't want to feel that. Oh, I'm feeling stressed. I'm feeling... No, we want to engage with it. We want to understand what they're trying to do for us so that we can communicate with ourselves and that emotion so that we can change it on the inside and not have to go for something external, not have to buy something on Amazon to make us feel excited, or eat some food to give us some comfort, or speak to a friend, or go to sleep, or watch a movie, because those all waste time, waste money, and they have a negative consequence on our body as well. Knowing how to deal with our emotions on the inside puts us emotionally in control. And that is why it's so important. It's one of those 3 things that I discussed that are mightily important, that we own and invest our time and energy in so that we can live life emotionally free and do what we want to do and get the best chance of achieving what we want to achieve and live the incredible. So in order to explain what our emotions are, because emotional intelligence is the ability to communicate with ourselves internally when we feel something that we don't want to feel, the ability to communicate with ourselves about what's happened to us, or what we've experienced, or what we've witnessed, or what someone's told us. It's self-communication. But I just want to share the very first part of the 3-step course that I have, the Emotional Mastery course, which I mentioned. You can see at the bottom. You can do the online course there. Because I think this philosophy has been a game changer, not only for myself. I don't feel in battle with my emotions. I recognize my emotions, all my emotions are here to serve me, but I've seen so many people walk away from hearing this concept, and they come and they say, Joe, this was a game changer. Just this concept alone, forget, step 2 and step 3, because this is really part of step 1 that I'm about to share in the emotional mastery system that I put together. They walk away and tell me it's an absolute game changer. It just creates a sense of peace and a sense of understanding, and a sense of I'm going to work with my emotions, not I'm going to fight them. So I'm going to start off with a crazy statement. Don't shut the video off or go to the next video when you hear this, but I'm pre-warning you. And that is that there is no such thing as a negative emotion. There is no such thing as a negative emotion. I'll say it again just to re-emphasize it. There is no such thing as a negative emotion. Our emotions, all our emotions, are not negative. They're just not. And I'll explain to you how I know that to be true. They are not negative. They are just messages. And I'll bring it out with 2 points to really show this to be true. Excitement and joy, right? Joy is telling me, which is what we would call them positive emotions. I don't like the word positive. I like to use a different kind of terminology, and that is, it's telling us that life is good. It's telling us that life is on track. Joy is telling me that I'm experiencing something good in the moment, something pleasurable in the moment. And excitement is telling me that something pleasurable is going to happen, maybe in a couple of weeks' time, maybe tomorrow, maybe I'm going to be meeting a friend, maybe I'm going on holiday. It builds a sense of excitement. Those 2 emotions, what people describe as positive, are really nothing more than telling me that life's on track and there's going to be good things. That's all it's telling me. Which means that all the other emotions, and I believe there's 4 main categories that I discuss more in the first step on the actual full course, but I'm not going to go into them now. But the 4 main categories of emotions: anxiety, sadness, stress, and anger, and there's more within each category. They are just telling us that life is off track. They're not trying to punish us. They're just trying to tell us that you're not getting the joy and the excitement that you want. There's something in the way. Something's happened or something needs to be dealt with. So they're not negative. They're a message. Just like joy and excitement is a message telling me that life is on track and life is good and life is going according to plan and good things are happening or are going to happen. The other emotions are just a warning telling us that you're not going to get to the joy and the excitement as long as you're either thinking this way or you have this external circumstance that is a roadblock to you feeling that excitement and joy. So I don't like to use the word positive and negative, because negative, if we think our emotions, stress, anxiety, and all those kind of things are negative, it kind of builds up this, okay, let's get into war kind of situation. And we don't want to fight our emotions, because the more you fight anxiety, generally speaking, or stress, the more we get of it. Oh my God, I'm getting stressed, I've got to fight it. That gets us more tense. We want to deal with our emotions from a relaxed kind of subconscious way, that this is okay. This is just a message. And I'm going to bring it out with an analogy that's so powerful that I've used on thousands of people. And it really has, from what I can see and from their feedback, really has a really big impact, and it makes an impression on their mind to really understand this point. So I want you to imagine or your favorite car. I don't know what your favorite car is, but let's just say your favorite car is the Land Rover. Most people, the Range Rover. Most people love the Range Rover. Let's just go with the Sport one. The Range Rover Sport, it's pretty slick car, pretty cool. It's got all the gimmicks, but they cost about, I don't know, I have no idea, but I think they cost anything between, they can cost £70,000. A basic entry model can cost £70,000. So I want us just to play this game that your favorite car is this Range Rover that costs minimally £70,000. And you're looking to buy a new car. You're looking to buy a new car, but your budget is only £10,000. So it's a bit out of your budget. And you've only got £10,000 to play with, so you doesn't even enter your mind to get a spanking brand new Range Rover. But later on today, you get a phone call. You get a phone call from the local Range Rover dealership, and they say, hey, we've heard that you're looking for a Range Rover and you'd love to buy a brand new one, but we've heard, to ask how, this is just an analogy, they've heard that you've only got £10,000 to spend. We have a spanking brand new Range Rover that's just come off the factory line and we're willing to give it to you for £10,000. Come down to the local dealership and we'll show it to you, buy it, put £10,000 down and it's yours. You put the phone down and you're like, well, you know what they say, if it's too good to be true, it's normally not true, but your curiosity gets the better of you and you drive over to the Range Rover dealership and you walk in and you introduce yourself, and the person who spoke to you over the phone, they come up, they show you the car. It's in your favorite trim, right? Your favorite color. It's got the alloy wheels, leather seats, sunroof, entertainment. It's like a dream come true. It's everything you've ever desired in a car. And you say to the salesperson, I don't understand. Like, help me out here. This car should cost at least £70,000. It's spanking brand new. It's got 0 mileage on the mileage. Why are you giving it to me for £10,000? Like, has it got an engine? Does it drive? Is it going to explode the second I drive it out of the showroom? So the salesperson says, no, absolutely fine. This is just a freak accident on the factory line. It's got all the parts. It works. It will run like any other car. Just one thing. You know that annoying dashboard on the car, in front of the steering wheel, where it tells you you've got to fill up petrol and pay money, and you've got to get your hands dirty by filling up the oil, and then you've got to take it to the mechanic when some light comes on and you get overcharged on something they've got to fix, right? That dashboard, this car was built without a dashboard. So you'll never get these annoying lights coming on, right? It will run like any other car, but you're just not going to get disturbed by these lights. And you can't go away and put a new dashboard system in, because it will mess up all the electrical stuff within the car. You've got to take it as it is, right? My question to you, and this is a question that I've asked thousands of people, would you buy the car to drive? Not would you buy the car to sell and flog the parts. This is not a business deal. I'm asking, would you buy the car to use for your personal use? Would you use this car where there's no dashboard, where you won't get annoyed and you won't get told when you've got to fill up petrol, when you've got to fill up the oil or the tire pressure, or there's a mechanical issue or a software system issue? You're not going to get bothered by all of that, because you're just not going to know. Would you buy the car to use for your personal use? And 99.9% of people say to me, Joe, absolutely not. Even though it's their dream car and it's only cost them 10K and they'd love everything about that car, they wouldn't buy it. And the reasons they give to me is because, Joe, that dashboard, even though might be annoying, it's going to cost me 60 quid to fill up the petrol, at the end of the day, it's trying to serve me. It's trying to tell me, that dashboard, that if you want to get the best usage out of this car, if you want to get from one destination to the next, then you need to take care of me. You need to fill up petrol, because if you don't fill up the petrol, you're going to break down. And that's going to be a bigger problem, right? You can solve the problem of breaking down if you just put 60 quid into the machine or swipe your card on £60 and fill me up with petrol, right? If you just put some oil in my car in my engine, then the car will explode or whatever it might be, and you can then continue and be able to get from A to B in a really fashionable and enjoyable car to drive. So people recognize that even though it's going to cost them time and energy to upkeep the car, they realize it's in their best interest, because that dashboard in that car is just a message board system. And sometimes we don't like the messages. So who likes filling up 60 quid on petrol? No one does. But we do it because we recognize, we'd rather keep the 60 quid, but we recognize if we want to get the best usage out of the car, then it needs 60 quid of petrol. It's just a fact of the way the car works. It's a message board system. No one would buy a car without that dashboard, without that message board system. And the same is true for our emotions. We're on a journey. We're trying to get to places. And there are lots of different moving parts that are out of our control, lots of billions of interactions with people and the world around us. We can't control them, and there's going to be things that get in the way. Our emotions are nothing more than a message board system telling us we've got to fill up with petrol, got to fill up with the oil, go see a mechanic, go speak to an expert who can help us. It's telling us specific messages. Stress is a specific message, just like the dashboard light for the petrol, right? It's a specific message. And when the oil light lights up, that is a specific message of an action that we have to do, something we have to do to protect the car so we can get the best usage out of it. Anxiety is the same thing. It's giving us a very clear message, a very different message to stress, a very different message to anxiety, and it's trying to tell us that there's something that needs to be dealt with, either internally or externally, either within our psychology or within our behavior or with our actions that we take. Something needs to change because there's something in the way of those two emotions, joy and excitement, or fulfillment and happiness, all the emotions that you can mention. There's something in the way. It's a message board system. It is trying to serve us. And when we start realizing this concept that anxiety, fear, frustration, anger, guilt, stress, being overwhelmed, depression, sadness are just trying to tell us that life is off track. They are not trying to punish us. They're not trying to get into a battle. They're just trying to tell us something is in the way of you getting the best usage of your life, of experiencing joy and excitement, fulfillment and happiness. We start dealing with it from a far calmer place. When people come out to me after hearing the whole step one, I'm only sharing a little bit because I'm not going into what those emotions mean, the specific message when stress lights up on our emotional dashboard. They come back generally and they say, Joe, I just had the calmest week of my life. I still experience the same anxiety, but I was internally, I can't explain it. I just had this calmness, this respect that I didn't get my back up against the wall. I've got to fight this anxiety. I got curious, and that's the key word. They got curious about it. They started thinking about it. They just had this subconscious calmness about them because their mindset around their emotions have changed. And this is why it's step one. This doesn't involve any work. It just involves a mind shift, a new perspective as to what our emotions are all about. Because if we believe our emotions are negative and they're dangerous and they're a battle, that's going to create a cycle of a fight. And the more we fight those emotions, the more going to intensify. Because when we're in a fight, any fight, most people tense up. And being tense or feeling tension is not a pleasurable emotion. The best starting place to become emotionally intelligent is to do it from a place of calmness. And it sounds weird that you can be stressed or you can be anxious, but I know within myself that if I get stressed or if I get a little bit anxious, in the back of my mind, I have this strong voice saying, this is just a message, and I'm going to take this message seriously, but it's just a message, not a destination, not a place I'm going to live forever. It is simply trying to tell me, let's go do step two, change our emotions, and then do step three, engage with it to find a solution so that I can get back to the joy and excitement. And a solution which is either externally based, I have to change something or move something or do something, or maybe I've got the wrong perspective about life and therefore I need to change the way that I'm thinking about what's going on the outside world, or thinking about myself or relationships or future, whatever it might be. It's a calmness that comes with it. And if you'd like to find out more about this, if you'd like to know what stress means specifically, if you want to find out what anxiety feels, is the specific message of anxiety and anger and sadness, the four main categories I think a lot of people get stuck in, then you can do the rest of the course below. There's a link below where you can access the course. I think it's about 4 hours of content, and it's a real game changer to allow us to work and walk and respect and accept our emotions, not just accept them, but then learn how to step out of them in a really healthy way. But then step 3, that's where the real emotional intelligence lies. That's where that is a game changer, step 3, because it's going to allow us and it's going to show us how we communicate with ourselves, how to control our focus, how to control our thinking so that we can create thinking that is resourceful, resilient, and creative and solution orientated. But I hope, even if you don't do the course, that this will give you a sense of value and a sense of understanding and a deeper connection to your emotional dashboard, and it will build a sense of acceptance and a sense of respect as well. And what I tell people to do is they should wake up each morning, and I used to do this, I did this for many years, and I used to wake up in the morning and I used to say, today, all my emotions are here to serve me. All, that's a critical word. All my emotions are here to serve me. They are a message and they are a guide to try and help me live a life of joy, excitement, fulfillment, and happiness and all the other stuff. And I think by making that statement at the beginning of a day, it's setting our mindset up. It's setting our mindset up for the way that we want to live our life that day in dealing with our emotions. So that would be a suggestion that I would make, to wake up and make that statement of intent as to how we're going to deal with our emotions, assuming that you understand what it is I'm saying and that you agree with what I'm saying and it's logical and it makes sense for you. If it doesn't make sense, then obviously you're not going to make that statement of intent. But generally speaking, I don't think I can't think of a time when someone said to me, Joe, this doesn't make sense, because I think logically this makes sense. It just does, for me, it just makes sense. It's a message board. Now, I will finish off with one thing, that while our emotions are not negative, anger, stress, anxiety, they're not negative, they're just they're disempowering, because we can't respond to life when we're anxious. You don't want to respond to life when you're stressed, and you definitely don't want to respond to life when you're feeling down. They are disempowering, right? Because they're not a place where you want to take action from, and that's why you need step 2 and step 3 of the course. But what I would say is, if you do respond to life from stress, if you do respond to life from anger, if you do respond to life from anxiety or sadness or low mood, then you will get a negative consequence. That's where the negativity comes in. Because if you're angry and you respond to the trigger or the message of anger from a place of anger, chances are people who are angry, they say things and do things they would never do if they're calm. And they do things that they would never do publicly. They do it because they lose control. And if you're anxious, chances are you're gonna shut down, and you're gonna get just not gonna do what it is you need to do, because you feel like your whole body is shaking. And if you're stressed and overwhelmed, you're gonna get very, very snappy. And if you're overwhelmed, you really are gonna shut down, because it feels like it's just too much to do. And if you're sad and feeling down and depressed, you're not gonna do anything at all. Everything seems dark. Nothing seems like it's gonna work. So we're not gonna do any action at all. And that's gonna get a negative result, because doing nothing or being snappy or doing things that we would never do from a state of anger, that then creates a negative consequence. That's where the word negative comes in. But the actual emotion is just a disempowering emotion. It's not positive, it's a message. And what we do with that message will determine whether or not we get back to those emotions that we want of joy and excitement, happiness and fulfillment, or whether or not we actually do get a negative consequence by the actions that we take, or whether or not we then go to a distraction, which doesn't help, because considering these emotions are a message, just turning off that message doesn't deal with the message. It's just going to ring even louder next time. It's like a mobile phone. If someone's trying to ring you and you put it on silent, chances are they're going to ring you again. If you still don't answer, then they're going to send you a text message. And if you answer the text message and it's something urgent, then they're going to send you a message on Facebook and then on WhatsApp and all the other social platforms. I can't mention those, too many these days. So we want to get the message. So hiding away and dealing with our emotions that we don't want to feel, that are a message, but they're not pleasant and they're disempowering. By using a distraction, not only do we get a negative consequence, we get a negative consequence either within your body if you eat food, and money if you have to buy stuff, and loss of the most precious commodity we have, time, but it doesn't really deal with the issue, because it's a message. It's a message, and you don't want to ignore those messages. It's like ignoring the petrol light on our dashboard. I just can't deal with the petrol light. It's too much. I'm not going to fill up. Then you're going to break down. And that is a bigger problem than filling up the car with petrol. And if you break down, that creates a whole new host of new problems, right? You can't get to where you want to get to, and you have to cancel all your plans and rearrange everything and wait for hours to be towed back to a petrol station. And that can be avoided with increasing our level of emotional intelligence through understanding, firstly, as a starting point, that all our emotions are here to serve us. They are a message. They are not negative. They are simply telling us, based upon the understanding that we have about ourselves and life and where we want to get to in life, that something is in the way, i.e. stress, anxiety. Those are trying to tell us that emotion, and joy and excitement is trying to tell us that life is on track. And the more emotionally intelligent we are, the more we'll avoid all those distractions and all the negative consequences they have. And naturally, the more we would experience all those beautiful emotions that we all really desire and deserve to feel on a daily basis.